Hello, hello.
Hello.
Welcome to Corner Culture. This is Kaylin, Thoughts Off the Mainstream. This is my beautiful, lovely wife, Yuri Yamazaki. So welcome. This is another episode where I'm bringing on Yuri as a guest, but actually this time she's not going to be so much a guest as a co-host. I will, because you're going to be taking the lead.
So I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions about Bitcoin.
Yes, Yuri is a perfect person to ask a bunch of questions about Bitcoin because she doesn't know shit about Bitcoin.
Nope.
Even though we've been married for, we've been married
for 1 year.
We've been married for a short amount of time, but we've been together for a long amount of time, like 3 years or more. Almost 4 years. So anyway, before we get started, don't forget COSATOSHI.shop, where you can buy cool Bitcoin merch like this. I also have a lot of learning materials on there. For those who want to learn more about Bitcoin, there's a lot of learning materials on there. And I'm also starting a newsletter, so if you go to the website and you go down to the bottom, you can enter in your email address so that you can get my monthly, I think I'm going to do monthly newsletter on Bitcoin with news and updates and random bits of information and other stuff that might be interesting. So,
alright, so let's start from the very basic.
Okay.
What is Bitcoin?
Well, that's not an easy question to answer. There are so many things that go into that, but all right, I'm just going to say what it is. It is a peer-to-peer, decentralized electronic cash system.
It is an electronic cash system.
Yeah.
Okay.
Peer-to-peer, decentralized, cryptographic electronic cash system.
Okay. So there are a bunch of words that I have no idea what it means.
I know.
What they mean.
I know.
So what does it mean when you say decentralized?
Decentralized. Okay. Well, decentralized is the opposite of centralized. So centralized means central. So everything is centralized around one single point. For example, now we're talking about money here, so let's talk about a bank. Okay? A bank keeps the records that it has for its customers. Okay? A bank keeps the records. They call it a ledger. Okay? And the ledger keeps track of how much money everyone has in the bank. Okay? You have $1,000. I have $100. Okay? With the bank. The bank's ledger is centralized. That is, the bank is the only one who has the ledger. Okay? Let's just say, for example, let's just say Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo keeps a copy of that ledger at the bank. And so if, for example, if a tornado one day rips through the city where we have the bank, where we keep our money with the bank, and the tornado destroys the bank, there's only one copy of the ledger in that bank. And then that ledger is gone forever. That's centralized. There's just one point where everything is kept. Decentralized is the opposite of that. So that ledger that keeps a copy of all the money that everybody is owed from the bank. Imagine there's a copy all over the world, thousands and thousands and thousands of copies all over the world, and everybody has a copy of the ledger, and everybody is always checking everybody else's copy of the ledger and saying, okay, do you have the exact same copy of the ledger that I have? And if not, if any one person has a copy of the ledger that is not the same as everyone else's, then that person gets cut out of the network. They get removed from the network entirely. And all of the other copies, they all check with each other and they say, okay, we all have the same copy, right? We all have this correct copy, and everybody says thumbs up. Okay, good. All right. Everybody agrees this is the correct copy of the ledger.
Okay. Well, Wells Fargo or any banks have lots of branches all over everywhere in the United States. Any banks have their branches all over the world.
That's true.
So essentially, it's not only one ledger at one place.
But the way it works with banks that have franchises all over the place is, so let's say in the United States, let's just say there are 10 branches of Wells Fargo in the United States. All right? There are branches in Seattle, LA, Florida, New York. Okay, all four corners of the country. Well, the servers which hold all the information is in Colorado.
Okay.
Okay, that's one centralized location where all the information is located. And all the other branches, what they do is they call into the server, that one server that's in the middle. They see what I'm saying? The copies are not necessarily with the bank itself, the branch itself. It's usually held in a server somewhere where there is just one well, actually, in servers, database centers these days, they have multiple copies, but it's in one data center or maybe two data centers. So it's centralized. It's under the control and authority of one entity. That's centralized. Decentralized is it's under the control and authority of no one person. It is a concerted effort of everyone working together, all across the globe, all different countries, different religions, different languages, different ages, different races, different ethnicities, etc., all working together to say, no, this is the one thing that we have.
So what's a peer-to-peer?
So peer-to-peer is, remember how I said that there are all these people all over the place, all with a copy of the ledger? Mm-hmm. All right, let's call them nodes, because that's what they're called on the Bitcoin network. Mm-hmm. It's the way that you do that is you run a node. It's a copy of the ledger, and all it does all day, 24/7, is it connects to other nodes, and it checks the copy of the ledger that they have, and everyone is constantly checking. And so that's what my node does. So that's what a node does. It constantly checks a ledger. But the way that someone were to send Bitcoin is you send it from one person to another person. Okay. It's not like a bank where for example, if you have your money with a bank, right, and the bank owes you $1,000 because you're holding $1,000 in the bank, and you want to give me $100, you would tell the bank to give me $100.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's not how it works with Bitcoin. The way it works with Bitcoin is you have the money, you have the Bitcoin, and then you just send it directly to me. There's no third party in the middle that facilitates the transaction.
Okay.
That's why it's peer-to-peer. It goes directly from one person to another person. It utilizes the Bitcoin network to facilitate the transaction. So nodes are part of this process. Mining is a part of this process. We don't have to get into that detail. But the important thing is that if you want to send something to me, you can send it directly to me with no third-party intermediary, and you can do it in a trustless way. So that's peer-to-peer. There's no third party. It's you to me and me to you, and that's it. End of story. We can involve a third party, like an exchange, if we want to, but it's not required. It's not necessary for this network to function. It is designed to not have a third party in the middle, so that people can transact directly with one another.
All right. So it's the third word is cryptographic.
Cryptographic.
Good.
This is kind of where the magic happens, and this is kind of this is sort of what the technology that makes this whole thing possible. Without the cryptography, without the technological innovation of the cryptography that is utilized in Bitcoin, none of this would be possible. This is where everything changes, okay? Because there were electronic cash systems that were developed before Bitcoin, and they failed. Satoshi said that the reason that they failed is because they were centralized, as opposed to being decentralized. So I'm not sure if they were also cryptographic in the way that Bitcoin is. My understanding is that they were not necessarily cryptographic in this way, but perhaps I'm wrong on that. But the magic that makes Bitcoin work, and the reason that it's called a cryptocurrency, is because of the cryptographic nature of it. Here's what I understand about the magic of the cryptography of Bitcoin. It's asymmetric. Okay? What does that mean? What symmetry is, right? Symmetry is it's equal on both sides. It's the same on both sides. Cryptography in Bitcoin is asymmetric. So it's not the same. So going one way is different than going the other way. And so what I understand is that when it comes to, for example, when it comes to verifying a transaction, to verify it, in other words, to know for sure that it is legitimate, that is extremely easy, extremely fast, and requires almost no work or energy at all. So it's incredibly fast and easy to verify that a transaction is legitimate. But it is impossible. It is impossible to fake it. It is without the keys that are required to sign and send a transaction, it's impossible to fake it. Or it would require, in order to fake it, it would require an absolute incredible amount of energy, an amount of energy that's not even possible in this world right now. Okay? And that's what I mean by asymmetric. Is so to verify that it's true, piece of cake. Super quick, fast, and easy. But to fake it, or to in other words, to counterfeit the money, it's impossible. Basically, it's impossible to counterfeit it.
So cryptographic means it's some kind of a system or math or calculation,
so
something
yes.
like that to easily verify, but impossible to fake.
Yes, it is highly mathematical. There are a lot of mathematical formulas involved. It's cryptographic math, as far as I understand it. Yes,
Okay.
It is math.
Some kind of a formula, like really complicated formula that I see in that movie or something.
I don't know if it's a formula. I think it's more like a computer code.
Okay.
The computer code utilizes the mathematical phenomena under the discipline of cryptography. So, for example, when you have a Bitcoin address, when you have a Bitcoin, when you have a Bitcoin wallet, okay, you have two sets of keys, whether you know it or not. You have a private key, and you have a public key. Okay, now the public key is exactly what it sounds like. It's public. You can give it about freely, and that's fine. And what that allows somebody to do is, if you have Bitcoin and you want to send it to me, I can give you my public key, and then you can send it to me, because it's a unique key that I have that is under the control of my secret key, my private key. And the private key allows me to verify to the Bitcoin network that I am the one that controls this wallet. I have control of this wallet. I can spend the Bitcoin in this wallet. But nobody else has that key. Nobody else has that secret key. And if you have, and this is the beauty of the cryptography, you may have my public key, but just because you have my public key, you cannot figure out my private key. Even though the two are related, even though with the private key, it proves that I control what is under the public key, even though these two things are related, you still cannot figure out what my private key is just from my public key. That's the beauty of cryptography, is it allows this asymmetry between two things that are very, very directly related.
What if the public key and private key, you can create them by yourself?
You can if you're advanced enough, but it's better to use a trusted service that does it correctly.
Okay. Well, let's say that you choose to create them by yourself, both
Yeah.
of them. What if you choose that they are the exact same?
I don't think it works like that. I don't think it can.
No?
I don't think it can be the same.
Oh, okay.
I don't know exactly how, but I'm pretty sure it can't just be the same thing.
Oh.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No. Okay, imagine keys to a house. Okay? So imagine that you and I bought a house together, okay? And you and I, we have the keys that open the doors to the house, right? Now, we know that these keys open the doors to this house. We also know the address to the house, okay? We know the mailing address, 123 Main Street, right? You can have my public address. You can have my mailing address, but you can't figure out the keys to that address.
Yeah, I got that.
But I, with the keys to that address, can prove and I can spend whatever's in that address, whatever's in there. Only me with the secret keys.
So you're saying the public key is like a mailing address?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
And private key or secret key?
Same thing.
Private key is like a exact shape of the keyhole.
Yeah.
So it is peer-to-peer and decentralized, cryptographic,
electronic cash system.
electronic cash system.
Yep.
Electronic cash system.
Right. So remember how I said it was decentralized, and that all the nodes all over the world have a copy of the ledger, right? That's where your Bitcoin is. Like if you never possess it yourself. You know, like let's say you have a hardware wallet, which most people know generally what a hardware wallet is. It looks like a thumb drive. It's typically USB. Sometimes it'll plug into a computer, which you should never do that. Never do that. But the Bitcoin's not on there. The Bitcoin is not on your hardware device. Your secret keys, your private keys are on the hardware device. That's what your hardware device is. That is your key. That's your key to the house. Your key to the Bitcoin house. The Bitcoin itself is actually on the blockchain. Or blockchain is the ledger. The blockchain is the ledger. That's all a blockchain is. Just like a bank has a ledger, where the ledger keeps track of how much money you have in your account. That's all a blockchain is.
Okay. Then who keeps this ledger blockchain? Who writes what? Who has what?
All of the nodes that I talked about, all the nodes across the world that make Bitcoin decentralized, every single one of them has a copy of the ledger, the blockchain, which right now is like 609 gigabytes or something crazy like that. 610 gigabytes maybe. All of them have a copy of that Bitcoin, of that blockchain. Most of them have a full copy. Some of them have a pruned copy. But nonetheless, all of them have a copy that can be verified amongst all of them. Yeah. Every time any transactions are added to the blockchain, every node in the world updates its copy and checks with all the other nodes to make sure that they all have the same copy, that they all have the same transactions. And they also, nodes are the rule keepers. Okay, nodes are the referees. If you want to compare this to sports, nodes are the referees who enforce the rules of every transaction and every block that's added to the blockchain. And anytime that there are any transactions or blocks that violate the rules, the nodes are the ones who say, nope, we do not accept this. We do not accept this block. We do not accept this transaction. And they kick it, they remove it or reject it from being added to the blockchain.
Okay. Then what is a node and
what is a node?
Yeah, how do you run it?
So a node is just a server. It's just a computer running a program. All right. All you do is download the program, and then the program will download the blockchain, which takes a while. It's 600 plus gigabytes right now. But then after it's all downloaded and everything's on that computer, all it does all day long, 24/7 nonstop, is just check with other nodes in the world. It's just going to constantly check with random nodes across the world, other copies of itself, because it's the same program, all running all over the world, and it's just checking every other node, and it's just making sure that they're all the same. Okay. That's what it does.
Okay.
And by the way, if somebody's interested in doing that, all you got to do is download what's called Bitcoin Core. If you go to bitcoin.org, you can download a copy of Bitcoin Core. You can run it on Windows, you can run it on Mac, you can run it on Linux, you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. And so if you just got a little computer, best thing to do is an old laptop that you're just going to plug in and set off to the side and forget about. Just have it running on a laptop 24/7. And then you are a node. You are enforcing the Bitcoin rules. And you are ensuring that nobody else messes with the network or tries to double spend or whatever, some fraudulent transaction.
Okay, so I think I got what it is, what Bitcoin is.
Okay.
Now,
finally.
Yeah, I think. Then the next topic.
Okay.
Now we talked about what Bitcoin is. I want to talk about the next level and how to get it and use it.
Okay.
I know there are some exchanges like a stock and bonds. You buy Bitcoin with US dollars or whatever the currency you have, and sometimes you buy it, sometimes you sell it. That's what you can do on an exchange, right? If you want to own it without exchange, without the third party, based on what we just talked about, I think you have to have the node.
No,
No.
not necessarily. The node's important to run. The node's important to have. But
Okay.
no, if you want to just send and receive Bitcoin from one person to another, you do not need a node. You just
Okay.
need a wallet.
Well,
Yep. Now, a Bitcoin Core, the node software, it has a wallet built into it. So you can do it that way. I've done it. It's actually quite easy. But that's not the easiest thing to do because maybe you don't have a computer that has 600 gigs of free space that you want to have running 24/7. Okay, fine. Then no. Then you don't want to use Bitcoin Core in that case. Well, in that case, you just want to have a wallet.
Wow.
And the best thing that you need for a wallet is a hardware wallet. You want a cold wallet. Cold wallet means it does not touch the internet. And so the best one for that, of course, is the BlockStream JADE. I'll post the thing up here for BlockStream JADE. Get the BlockStream JADE. It's the best. It's the best bang for your buck. It's $60 or $70, and it's the best hardware wallet that there is.
okay.
Okay, and that comes in many different forms. So you can have a hardware wallet like BlockStream JADE, or you can have something like this. This is the Ballet wallet. This is a cold wallet, okay, but it's not a hardware wallet because there's no hardware here. It's just a set of the private keys and the public keys on a metal card. Okay, I got this as kind of a novelty, but it's a real wallet. I can receive and send Bitcoin on this if I want to. I'm not at this point, but it's possible.
Okay.
So if it's a cold wallet, that means you're gonna have to buy something physical because it's either gonna be a metal disc like this, or it's gonna be a piece of hardware, and that hardware is as I said before, is what holds your private keys. Okay, and that's the most important part, and that's why hardware wallets exist, is because they're very good at protecting your private keys so that nobody else can take them. Because if somebody else gets your private keys, guess what? They have control of your wallet. They have control of whatever Bitcoin's on that wallet, and they can steal it from you. So hardware wallets are very good at protecting your private keys. Whatever hardware wallet you get, it will have an orientation process. It'll have a setup process. And in that setup process, it will generate a wallet for you. It'll generate the private keys and the public keys. And from there, and it'll always have the instructions, and it'll tell you what to do. One of those things that you're going to do always is you're going to write down 12 words or 24 words. That's your secret key. That's your secret phrase. That's the thing that you can never allow to touch the internet. Under no circumstances ever do you allow your secret phrase to touch the internet, to be in the presence of a camera that's connected to a computer. You never say it out loud in the presence of microphones, especially your phone. You never type it into a keyboard, period, ever, never. You only ever write it down on a piece of paper, stamp it into a piece of metal, or something like that, and then you keep that guarded with your life, because if anyone ever gets that, by any means necessary, they have your Bitcoin. They have control of your wallet now. And maybe you don't know it, so you have to be extremely careful on that part. But that's how you create a wallet. Most typically, that's the best way to do it. My recommendation is always to get a hardware wallet and get the JADE, and then utilize the multi-sig and use something like Unchained, like we do, like we have. That's my recommendation as far as like creating a hardware wallet.
Okay.
And utilizing it.
Okay. And where can we get the JADE? BlockStream JADE.
Well, you can go to blockstream.com and you can get it there. If you can go to that and you can use my code COSATOSHI and you can get 10% off. You can also get it directly on my website, COSATOSHI.shop. And you can actually save money if you do it that way because I don't charge you for shipping. BlockStream charges shipping. So you end up paying like $80 on the website. After my discount, you pay like $72 or something. But if you do it on my website, $69.99. I won't charge you for shipping. And it'll come directly from BlockStream. Okay, it won't go through me. I won't touch it. It goes directly from BlockStream straight to you. So the best thing to do is just to buy the BlockStream Jade. That's the best thing to do.
All right, sounds good. So in order to own Bitcoin, one thing you would recommend is to get the hardware wallet.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the hardware wallet is where you hold it in self-custody.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get the Bitcoin, you have to utilize an exchange. And you have to utilize something like Strike, CASHAPP, River, Unchained, Swan. These are all Bitcoin-only exchanges where you can purchase the Bitcoin, and they will hold it for you until you withdraw it from them, and then you put it on your hardware wallet, and then you hold it in self-custody on your hardware wallet.
So
It's a two-step process. First, you get it from the exchange, and then you take it off the exchange and you self-custody with a hardware wallet. Same thing in reverse. So instead of buying it from the exchange and putting it onto your hardware wallet, you move it from your hardware wallet onto the exchange and then sell it. But
okay, hang on.
we don't recommend that. We don't recommend that you ever sell your Bitcoin. Borrow against your Bitcoin. Lend against your Bitcoin. Use it as collateral for a loan. Don't ever sell it. Never sell it.
Why is that?
Because you don't know that you'll ever be able to get it back at the price that you got it at. So for example, let's say you bought a bunch of Bitcoin and on average you paid $30,000 per Bitcoin. Okay? On average, let's just say. Over a span of a couple years, you got a bunch of Bitcoin and you got in at on average at $30,000 per coin. All right? Then let's just say Bitcoin moons and it goes to 100,000. And so you think, oh, great, this is awesome. I have this amazing opportunity. And so you sell half your Bitcoin. You sell half of it at $1,000. Okay, so now you have 50% of the Bitcoin you were holding at 30,000, and the other 50% of your Bitcoin you sold it. All right, but let's say Bitcoin just absolutely goes bananas. It doesn't stop at 100,000. Then it goes to 150. Then it goes to 200. Then it goes to 250, and then it goes to 1 million. You're never going to get that 50% of your Bitcoin back at $30,000. You're never going to get that back ever again. What you should have done is you should have borrowed against that 50%. You could have borrowed, let's say $50,000. You could have borrowed $50,000 against the Bitcoin, right? And you're continuing to work, you're continuing to earn money. Maybe you're earning Bitcoin, maybe you're earning fiat, whatever. But you're just paying back that $50,000. But that $50,000 it then becomes worth $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 as the price of Bitcoin just keeps going up and up and up. But you only have to pay back $50,000. You don't have to pay back $100,000, $150,000, whatever. You are only paying back $50,000. But you still have the Bitcoin that is continuing to grow in value as the asset becomes more valuable. Bitcoin is the only asset in the world that is 100% scarce. There's not another asset in the entire world that is 100% scarce. Nothing else is 100% scarce. Houses are not 100% scarce. You can build more houses. Gold is not 100% scarce. We can dig in the ground and find more gold. We can go out into space and mine asteroids and find gold on asteroids. Okay? Diamonds are not scarce. We can always find more diamonds, and pretty soon we're going to be able to produce diamonds synthetically. And they're going to be no different than a real diamond. Okay? Diamonds are not scarce. Platinum is not scarce. Again, we can dig it in the ground, or we can find it in asteroids. Okay? There's not a single thing in the world that is 100% scarce except Bitcoin. Okay. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoins. Period. It's never going to change.
Okay.
And so that's why I'm so adamant. We Bitcoiners are so adamant that you never ever sell your Bitcoin.
So that leads to the question that I had earlier. How much can you be sure that it just goes up? It never goes down.
You can be sure when you study the history of currencies, and you see what's happened to gold, you see what's happened to silver, you see what's happened to seashells, you see what's happened to notches on a stick, you see what's happened to the Rayleigh stones. I forget.
Rhinestone?
No, Rayleigh stones. Hang on. Let me pull this up real quick. Rye stones, REI stones. I think that's it. Rye stones. Yeah, rye stones. Rye stones, one of many large artifacts that were manufactured and treasured by the native inhabitants of the Yap Island of Micronesia. But it was not so different from the operation of the gold vault of the Federal Reserve of New York, which can pay gold from one government to another without the gold ever leaving the vault. So in other words, the rye stones were basically like gold to dollars. In the beginning, dollars were equal to an amount of gold. Mm-hmm. Dollars were just paper money, paper IOUs that were layered on top of gold. The money was the gold, and the dollars were the currency. The dollars were what we used to buy and sell stuff, mm-hmm. but the gold was the value that was holding the dollars together. And the rye stones was the same. You had a giant stone, one giant stone, and that stone was worth, I don't know, let's just say $1 million. Then what they did is they had some other kind of currency that was smaller and easier to carry around and exchange with people. And it was backed by the fact that there was this huge rye stone supporting its value, mm-hmm. just like dollars to gold. Mm-hmm. That's the rye stone. So anyway, this is just one out of hundreds of examples of currencies that have existed, monies that have existed in the world. And the same thing always happens to all of them. And what happens is another money moves in. Another money moves in that's harder, more scarce, more saleable. Basically, it has all of the qualities of money better than the one before it. And when this new currency comes in with these better qualities, it always wins. And it always impoverishes everybody else who holds the old currency, the old money, for the longest. It makes them poor. Bitcoin is the new money that's coming in that's going to make everybody who holds on to dollars, who holds on to gold, who holds on to silver, the longest, is going to make them the poorest. Because what's going to happen is people are going to realize more and more and more as time goes on. And we're talking large time scales. We're talking decades, centuries. But over greater spans of time, people are going to learn, oh, this asset is better. It's better because it's mobile, it's divisible, it's scarce. Mm-hmm. It's the most scarce. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it's perfectly scarce. Mm-hmm. So it literally fixes everything that is wrong with dollars that exist today. Because dollars today do not store value. They don't hold value. Hmm. If you had $100 today compared to $100 a year from now, it's going to be less. Mm-hmm. And then a year after that $100 is worth less. Mm-hmm. And then a year after that $100 is worth even less. The value of dollars always goes down, 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 down. Bitcoin, the value always goes up, 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 up. Now it's a rocky road going up, mm-hmm. but it's always going up in the long scale, mm-hmm. in the large scale.
Okay.
So the reason why I know Bitcoin is going to be the asset of all assets in the long run is because of the history of all currencies.
Okay. Would you explain how rare, how scarce Bitcoin is?
Yeah. So
why is it so rare?
So first of all, the issuance schedule. That is to say, new Bitcoin is created every 10 minutes. Okay. New Bitcoin comes into existence every 10 minutes. Right now, we're getting 6.25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. In April of next year, that's going to get cut in half. And it's going to be 3 1/8 Bitcoin every 10 minutes for about 4 years. Mm-hmm. And then after that next cycle, it's going to get cut in half again. And then it's going to be 1.5 plus a 16th, whatever that is. Whatever. It's going to be 1 Bitcoin and some change every 10 minutes. And then the next 4 years after that, it gets cut in half again. 4 years after that, it gets cut in half again. This cycle, this 4-year cycle, is called the halvening cycle or the halving cycle or the halfening cycle. Every 4 years, the amount of new Bitcoin that come into existence gets cut in half.
Mm-hmm. Why is that?
This is what Satoshi created in the beginning when Bitcoin was first invented. And we don't know who Satoshi is, but he understood that that in order to have a perfectly scarce asset like Bitcoin, it had to be issued on a schedule, and it had to be a fixed schedule, and it had to be open for anybody to come in and earn this Bitcoin. And that's what miners do. Miners came in and they said, okay, we want to mine this because we think it's going to have value, or we think it does have value, or we think it's absolutely going to really have value in the future. So we're going to come in and we're going to put in the work to earn this Bitcoin. And they do that with computers. But so in the very beginning, there were 50 Bitcoin every block that were newly created, newly minted, and those 50 Bitcoin went to the miner that solved the block. All right, and it did that for 4 years. So it's 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes for 4 years. So obviously the majority of Bitcoins were created in the first 4 years. And then the next 4 years, it was 25. It got cut in half. So, and then the following 4 years, it was 12 and a half. And then now we're in the fourth cycle. It's 6 1/4. When you do the math and you extrapolate this schedule all the way until 2140, which is the year 2140, that's going to be the last new Bitcoin ever issued. If you add all that up, it's just a little shy of 21 million Bitcoins. It's like 20.999.999.987 Bitcoins. Million Bitcoins. And there will never be any more than that. After that last Bitcoin is issued in 2140, there will never be any new Bitcoin. You will only be able to use the Bitcoin that has already been made into existence.
Okay. So there will be a limit of amount of Bitcoin.
A absolute finite amount.
In the year of 2140.
2140.
2140. Okay.
Bitcoin is infinitely divisible. Right now, it's divisible by 100 million. So one Bitcoin can be divided 100 million times. Fractions. Okay? So one Bitcoin has 100 million pennies. Think of it like pennies, right? We call them sats, short for Satoshi, the inventor of Bitcoin. So 21 million coins divided by 100 million. So now you have a really big number in terms of sats. You have a ton of sats. Okay, think of sats as like dollars. All right, and imagine that one Bitcoin has $100 million. All right, and that's the divisible. That's the division. But we can divide Bitcoin further if we need to. We can just add more zeros, and then one sat. Let's say that 100 million is the division right now for one Bitcoin. But let's say we add it and we go from 100 million to a billion. We add one more zero. So we went from 100 million to a billion divisions in one Bitcoin. Well, now that one sat that was worth 100 millionth of a Bitcoin, now that one sat is worth 10 of the next division, of the billionth of a Bitcoin. It's worth 10 of those. So that one sat, that used to just be $1, well, now you have dimes. Now you have 10 dimes makes a sat. And then let's say we want to add another zero. Well, then now we got 100 divisions that make one sat. Now we have pennies that make dimes that make sats. And a sat is still only 1/100 millionth of a Bitcoin.
Yeah, I understand the logic, but it's just I cannot imagine the situation when there's like a limit amount of currency.
Because we've never had it.
Yeah.
It has never existed, literally, in the history of humans. There's never been a currency that was absolutely scarce. But we do know, theoretically, we do know historically, that the more scarce an asset is, the harder money it is. And the scarcer it is, among other qualities, of course, it needs to be divisible, it needs to be fungible, it needs to be a good store of value, it needs to be uncorruptible, it needs to be indestructible, all these other qualities. We know that when a money has all of these qualities, or it has the most of all of these qualities, it always wins. It always wins out. And that's why I know that Bitcoin's going to win in the long run. And by the way, the other thing that we know when we look at history, the history of currencies, none of this happens overnight. None of this happens in a week or a month. It always happens over decades. It takes time for these things to take place. But it always benefits the people who come into it early. The people who come to it the first, in the earliest, are the ones who benefit the most. They're the ones who end up preserving their wealth the best. They're the ones who benefit from the tide changing from one currency to another over time. They're the ones who benefit the most from it. So the other thing that you need to remember. Okay, so number one was the divisibility of Bitcoin, and number two, you need to understand what unit of account is. Okay, there are three qualities of money. There's store of value, there's medium of exchange, and then the third one, which is the craziest one, the one that's the hardest to understand, is unit of account. Okay, store of value, number one, that's self-explanatory. Store of value, something, it keeps its value. Okay, got it. Medium of exchange, that also is pretty self-explanatory. It's a medium of exchange. It is the medium through which exchange takes place in a transaction between two parties. Okay,
you need something when you sell it or buy it.
Yeah, I give you a haircut, you give me Bitcoins. You give me your labor, your expertise you write me a song, I give you Bitcoins. Okay, that is the medium. So Bitcoins is the medium of exchange. Okay, that's self-explanatory. Unit of account. This is the one that most people, and I myself, had to really struggle to understand the most. Unit of account. What does that mean? It means measuring stick. It means ruler. It means tape measurer. What a unit of account is just simply the actual nominal way in which, in your head, you account what unit you use in your head to account for the value of things in your life. Okay? What is the value of your car in dollars?
Well, I bought it when it was 8,000.
8,000. Okay. What is it now?
Probably 6,000 or less.
Probably much less. Probably more like 3,000. Okay. How much is the TV that you wish you could buy right now to have in this apartment? What's the value of the TV that you want?
$500.
$500.
Yeah.
How much was the hamburger that you bought today, that we ate today?
$10.
$10. Right. Did you notice how you didn't say $500 for the hamburger and you didn't say $10 for the car? Right? You everything's scaled pretty well there. A few $1,000s for the car, a few $100 for the TV, a few $10 for the burger. Right? This is your unit of account. This is your measuring stick in which you value the world around you.
Yeah.
And everything has value in relation to each other. So if we say that the car was worth $3,000 and the burgers were $10, well then the car is worth 300 burgers.
Yeah.
See what I mean?
Yeah.
But we wouldn't know that without dollars. We would not know that the car is worth approximately 300 burgers unless we knew what their dollar values were, and then we did the arithmetic in our heads. Okay? The world is not priced in Bitcoin right now. The world is priced in dollars. Even in Japan, even in Turkey, they price things in dollars a lot of times. Not all the time, obviously, but a lot of times things are priced in dollars, especially where currencies are failing. Argentina, Turkey, Venezuela, Cuba, where currencies fail, people always resort to the next best currency, and they start to price their world in terms of that currency. Okay, that's what's going to happen with Bitcoin. It hasn't happened yet. Okay, I don't know how many sats the microphone is worth. I don't know how many sats the computer is worth. I don't know. I'd have to do the math. I'd have to do the arithmetic, and in order to do that, I would use dollars. I would first figure out the value of Bitcoin in dollars. I would figure out the value of the computer in dollars, and then I would do the arithmetic to figure out the value of the computer in Bitcoin. Right? So once the world begins to get priced in Bitcoin, then I will know. For example, if a burger is 10 sats, then if I'm going to work for somebody for an hour, then they better pay me at least double that per hour. So I better at least earn 20 sats an hour. See what I'm saying? There are 100 million sats per Bitcoin. Right? So right now Bitcoin's $40,000 approximately. $42,000, $43,000.
One Bitcoin.
One Bitcoin.
40,000.
40 plus $1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. One day it's going to hit $100,000.
$100,000. Okay.
One day after that it's going to hit $1 million.
Okay.
And then some point after that it's going to hit 100 million.
Yeah, it keeps going up. Yeah.
But it's never going to go past 100 million.
Okay.
Do you know why?
No.
How many sats are in one Bitcoin?
How many sats are in one Bitcoin?
I just told you.
100 million?
100 million. So the Bitcoin is never going to go past 100 million. It's going to be equal. $1 will equal 1 sat when Bitcoin hits $100 million per Bitcoin. So the whole world around us will suddenly be priced in sats because $1 will equal 1 sat. So instead of saying dollars, we just say sats.
Okay.
So your car is $3,000. It's also 3,000 sats. Might as well just say sats. Why are we saying dollars? No one wants to use dollars anyway because dollars are worthless. Now we just say sats.
All right. Then one last question. Why do you think it's important or beneficial to own and use Bitcoin?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. And the thing that I'm always going to default to answer that question is Bitcoin is what I just talked about with the suppression of the state being an actual thing in the future. If we are to avoid that from happening, we have to get control of this thing before they do. And we have to adopt it and use it as our daily way of life before they can take it from us.
Who's they?
The state.
The state.
The state. The state does not want us to have this power. The state already has this power. It's called fiat currency. They control it. They issue it. They invented it. And they fund themselves. And they fund their own interests. And they fund infinite war with it. Okay? Because they can just print it out of thin air. They can just invent as much money as they want anytime they want, and they can use it not only to wage infinite war and for forever, infinite war, but then they can purchase everybody that they need to purchase in order to continue the scam of fiat money. They have already captured many institutions in our country. They've captured the media. They've captured the higher education. They are beginning to capture the real estate, and we can see that reflected in prices of real estate. They're just skyrocketed.
Hang on a second. You said state.
The state.
Does that mean America?
That
like
means
the country, or
I'm talking
like
about
Georgia State or Arizona State.
I'm using the term the state in the anarcho-capital Austrian economic sense, which means that the state is the power of government, the power of the authority of government separate from the authority of the individual.
Okay.
All right. So I'm not talking about states like Georgia, Florida, California, New York. I'm talking about the state as one entity that is the authority of government.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what country you are in?
I don't know enough about all of the other countries in the world. I know a little bit about a lot of the other countries in the world. But when I talk about the state, I am also referring to those countries as well. Because all of them are under the control of some form of the state. Whether it be a communist totalitarian dictatorship like communist China, or whether it be a little bit more of a laissez-faire capitalist society like Sweden, or more recently Argentina.
So you're talking about government in general.
Yes.
No matter what country is.
Yes. That's going to be another interesting thing too, because not all countries are going to oppose and actively fight against Bitcoin the same as each other. So for example, we already saw China tried to ban Bitcoin, and it failed. But there are but China is kind of inept. The government, albeit very, very powerful and very totalitarian, they do not have the power and control that the U.S. government has. They just don't. They don't have the resources. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the intellectual resources. They don't have the creative resources. They don't have what makes America so powerful. And so when you combine a state that is self-interested, that is going to try and self-preserve itself, that also has the resources and the power that the United States does, the United States government, not only the government, but also what you can effectively call the shadow government, or the deep state, which is the intelligence agencies, all the other three-letter agencies, FBI, CIA, NSA, all this cabal of unelected bureaucrats who have basically have access to the money printer, and they can do whatever they want because they have an unlimited number of money that they need anytime they need it, because the government will give it to them whenever they want it. They are going to do whatever they need to do to protect themselves. And so when something like Bitcoin comes up and starts to threaten that, because the people start to go, you know what, your currency that you keep making me poor with and keep funding your infinite war with, I don't want to partake in that anymore. I'm going to vote out of that system, and I'm going to use this other system that we invented. We the people, not the state, not you, the state, the government, but we the people, we made this thing. We made it for us, and it's perfect, and you can't make me poor with it, and you can't take it from me, and et cetera, et cetera. You can't fund infinite war with it. I'm going to vote with my money, and I'm going to stop using your corrupt money, and I'm going to use this perfect money, this uncorrupt money that can't be corrupted, incorruptible money. I'm going to use that instead, and I'm going to base my entire life on it. I'm going to work for it. I'm not going to work for dollars. I'm going to work for Bitcoin. I'm going to spend it. So instead of spending dollars, I spend Bitcoin. I spend sats. And so I'm going to base my entire world on it. The sooner that we get everybody to that point, the more difficult it is for a government to come in and just take that away from everybody. Okay? The government already did that before with Executive Order 6102 in the year 1913, was it? They took everybody's gold in the United States. Literally. They said, by executive order, FDR, said, you cannot possess gold. And these stupid, goddamn silent gen boomer ass motherfuckers went with it. They went with this. They were like, yeah, fine, okay, cool, take my gold. It's the most un-American thing that you can possibly imagine. Yet it happened. Now,
I know.
That is not happening with Bitcoin.
So you believe that Bitcoin has a power to protect us from the authority? Yeah.
It keeps the state in check. If we are going to coexist, the people, if we are going to coexist with the state, there needs to be a balancing power. Right now there is none. The state is completely run amok. There's nothing stopping the state from doing whatever the hell it wants. But Bitcoin is a balancing act. It is a you'd better play nice or we're not going to play by your rules at all. You'd better play nice or we're going to go off and do our own thing and you can just dwindle away into irrelevance.
Okay.
So if you want to coexist with us, state, Mr. State, if you want to coexist with us, the people, you had better play nice. And when I give you my money, you'd better do good with it. And if you want to go to war, it better be a goddamn good reason to go to war. And the only reason I'm going to give you my money to go to war is voluntarily. Because you have convinced me with a sound argument and sound reasoning that I need to give you money to go to war. Or that I need to give you money to build a railroad system. You have to convince me to do it. You can't just take the money from me by force.
So you're saying that Bitcoin is has the power to protect us, protect our assets and money, the value. And you just mentioned a little bit that they cannot force to take them from us.
Mm-hmm.
How so?
Well,
How
right
can
now they take the money from us two different ways. Number one is taxes, which they literally just take money out of your pocket. Or number two, they take it through inflation. Whenever they print money into existence, they literally are taking value that you earned and putting it in their pockets. And then that new money that they printed, they go and do whatever they want with it. Fund infinite war, buy the media machines, corrupt whatever institution it is that they want to corrupt. That's how they take it from you. They can't take your Bitcoin from you because they can never tax you on it. They can't steal it from you. They can't take it from you. You have the secret key. They don't. There's no way they can take it. Now, if the government wants to take money that I have in the bank, it can do it. If I have $3,000 in the bank and the government just decides one day, you know what, Kalen owes us $3,000, they can just call up Wells Fargo and be like, hey, that money is ours. And Wells Fargo will go, okay. And then they'll just give my money to the government. They'll just give it to them. And then I went from $3,000 to $0. So, but you can't do that with Bitcoin. You can't do that. And then number two, the other way they steal from you is with inflation. They just print whatever money they want and they give it to whoever they want. You can't do that with Bitcoin. Can't do that either. So that's what I mean in the sense of this is how you preserve your wealth and ensure that nobody. This is why we say it's incorruptible and it's inconfiscatable, because you can't steal and corrupt it through inflation by money printer, and you can't steal it. You can't take it. You cannot confiscate it.
So how important Bitcoin is, why it's so beneficial to each of us is, like, again, protection, security, and
from the state.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As they have a limit amount of Bitcoin, and therefore it increase the value, maybe up and down, but little by little increases the value.
Over the long run, it will always go up.
Okay. Now, when it comes to how to use it and all other stuff, maybe we can talk about it next time.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's talk about layer 2s, like Lightning and Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how to use it.
Okay.
Don't look at me. Yeah, don't look at me like a deer in headlights. We're gonna talk about it next time, and I'll explain it.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks, baby. You did a great job. I hope it was informative for all of you out there. Don't forget COSATOSHI.shop, blockstreamjade.com blockstream.com / I think Jade, and get the Jade hardware wallet. Use my code COSATOSHI for 10% off.
And also the newsletter.
Oh yeah, sign up for the newsletter. Okay. I think that's it.